You know, it's funny because the term cooperating teacher has always been used for the supervising teacher here, but I think in this model it really redefines cooperation. They plan together, they collaborate, they feed off of one another, they reflect on their lessons with each other, and it really is truly cooperation. They work together. That's what I saw. It wasn't just the supervising teacher here, the licensed teacher, telling the student teacher what to do. It was a true teamwork effort, and only the kids benefit from that. And so, I mean, you can see them sharing ideas. They were talking about ideas, again, feeding off one another and really, truly growing together.
I think that they just get more individualized instruction. I mean, like we've been talking about, we can separate groups, we can have, during science, sometimes we'll have one group working on one activity, another group working on another activity, and doing station teaching. And so it's just more beneficial for them. If they have a question, if they need something, there's more than one person that they can talk to and who can help them out.
So there's more time on task.
I really like having two teachers in the classroom because there's always someone that's up in front of the class talking, but there's also another teacher who can walk around and help people who aren't understanding.
It's also helpful with like classroom management. When we can split up into groups, you're overseeing half of the amount of kids, so it's easier to keep them on task, keep them controlled, keep their behavior what it needs to be. So like when we're doing science, a whole classroom of doing the same experiment might get a little out of control. So when we're able to split, they get more out of it. We know that they've learned more and have been more focused. And so, I mean, I think that would be harder to do just by yourself.
And they're more accountable. They know that you can see them, you can see what they're doing, so they don't try as many things as they would in a bigger group.
I kind of think it's kind of good because we kind of have a little more help in the classroom. And the second thing is that then we could get more stuff done and ask questions more.
Well, I think the obvious benefit is that with two teachers, it's almost as if I have 10 and they have 10, so it's a much smaller group, a much smaller teacher-to-student ratio, so I think that really helps.
It definitely helps as far as classroom management issues. We talked about before, where I can take the whole class and one student can be pulled rather than by Rachel, rather than me trying to deal with that student and just say, okay, the rest of the class pause. So that saves a lot of time as far as that goes.
Because with the one person getting all the energy to the class, I think I would be more likely to get in a rut easily. Whereas having two people, you have more energy to pull from and you have more ideas to pull from. And you want to, if one's starting to get bored, the other one wants to jump in and do something different. And that just helps tremendously. And the class is staying excited, enthusiastic too, because they want to see what are they going to do today.
I like it because you get to hear two different ways to do different things. So.
And then if, say, one forgets something, the other one helps pick it up. It's just, I think the best way to say is we fill in each other's gaps really, really well.
I have the skills necessary to teach on my own and do the things I need to do. But the benefit is that I've been working with the students since the beginning, the very, very beginning, and I can see how Rachel handles this situation versus how I would have handled that situation on my own. Sometimes, like, if there is a situation where I'm not sure what to do, rather than just doing it the wrong way and not figuring out what to do, I can say, hey, can you help me with this situation? And then I can ask her afterwards, what did you do and why did you do it that way? Rather than just having already caused a bigger issue and then, you know, having a nightmare going on in your class pretty much. So in that way, I think it's definitely a big benefit.
Well, I think with the co-teaching model, anytime you can have two adults in a classroom, especially those adults who have teaching backgrounds or education degrees or going to have an education degree, the kids are going to benefit from that because it does lower your teacher-student ratio, and there's more individualized instruction. You can do two small group works with teachers looking at the intensive students and really getting them the instruction that they need, or if there's higher ability kids who need that push, you know, you can group those kids together and still have another adult in the classroom monitoring students and working with another group of students. So I think there's a huge benefit for kids when there's this kind of model or structure in a classroom.
The elementary education program in the College of Education at Purdue University has long been a point of pride because, among other things, our graduates take more math and science and more literacy courses than other programs across the state. In fact, 2/3 of the reading licenses that have been granted over the last 5 years in the state of Indiana have been to graduates of the Purdue University elementary education program. And even in this very tough time economically, our graduates are able to secure employment. The landscape in Indiana schools is ever changing, and more so now we have an increase in ELL populations, and classrooms are getting greater and greater numbers of students. So in order to maintain quality, we continue to look inward in our program, and we have decided that we're going to move to what's known as a co-teaching model of student teaching. One of the most exciting things about the co-teaching, co-planning model is the research-based evidence that it really improves student learning.
The RISE evaluation system is very heavy on assessments and evidence proving how the kids are doing. And one of the great things about having that second teacher there is that when I think, or when I've forgotten to go through and assess in a certain way or have that physical paper form showing, she usually fills in that gap for me, reminds, oh, we should have it done this way instead. Or if I tend to get into a rut constantly doing certain types of assessments, she helps bring in a different way, a different version of a standardized test or a different version of whatever kind of assessment. So that way the kids aren't getting run down with the same thing over and over, but they're still getting assessed. So we can still use that for the RISE evaluation.
And as far as in the future, I don't see how you could do it any other way with the expectations for teaching being what they are right now.
I had to move to this model based on recommendations of a task force that we assembled. On the task force were classroom teachers, building level and corporation level administrators, as well as Purdue faculty. They reviewed alternate models of student teaching, and the one that struck us as most potentially effective was the model used by St. Cloud State University. They took a co-teaching, co-planning model that is very common in special education and modified it to use with student teachers in all program areas. And so based on the task force's recommendation, we decided that we would implement our own version of a co-teaching, co-planning model. The co-teaching, co-planning model places a Purdue teacher candidate in the classroom from the very first day of the placement. And because of this, with two teachers, if you will, in the classroom, student-teacher ratio goes down. And with the emphasis on co-planning, it gives the cooperating teacher an opportunity to continue to expand their repertoire of differentiation.
If I was teaching by myself, it would be a lot of me lecturing, I have a feeling, at the front. I would be very uncomfortable with trying to figure out how to run stations, how to get students doing different groups, or even like craft activities, passing out materials, or messy activities. But when there's two of us, she's done it before, number one, so she knows how to do it and I can follow along. And then it's just, now there's two people, so you can do a lot more. I can pass out materials while she actually tells them what they need to do.
So you're modeling and you're scaffolding and then slowly doing less and less so they can be on their own. So I think that's kind of what the co-teaching process did. At the beginning, you are seen more as a team, so you're not so far removed from it and then jumping in. You're sort of from day one, you are part of the classroom, and then slowly but surely you take things over, but there's still support and someone you can talk to, and it's not like you're two separate entities, you're working together. So I think that's really helped me, just seeing examples throughout the process. Even if I've started planning more on my own or I'm doing solo teaching, there's always somebody else who can model or scaffold ideas that throughout the process. So that's helpful.
Co-teaching, the primary goal is to find the most effective strategies possible to engage two teachers with a group of students. There are many, many ways that you can do this. Team teaching, where two teachers are presenting content together. Station teaching, where students move between teachers and activities. Parallel teaching, where the class is separated in half and each teacher teaches to half the class at a time. Or supplemental or alternative teaching, where one teacher is pulling a group of students to differentiate instruction for any number of reasons. When one teacher is leading the class, then the other is engaged either in a focused observation or in directly assisting students in some way. key to effective co-teaching is co-planning. Planning together throughout the experience not only provides modeling and scaffolding for the teacher candidate to learn the planning process, but also creates an opportunity for two teachers' ideas, resources, and energy to go into that classroom. When it pairs co-planning and co-teaching well together, they can be immediately responsive to student performance, changing the strategies that they use and adjusting instruction to meet student needs. To help teacher candidates and cooperating teachers learn to use these strategies effectively, Purdue provides a pairs workshop where they can gather ideas and strategies for how to most effectively use two teachers in the classroom to meet student needs.
So this is different than our current approach to student teaching in that we're asking the cooperating teacher to take on a much more mentoring role, if you will, from the very beginning. That involves a focus on co-planning and collaborative implementation, as well as the use of a number of co-teaching strategies in which the cooperating teacher and the Purdue teacher candidate will be working together. Before the actual placement begins, in that pairs workshop, they're introduced to the model, various strategies, but they're also put together in ways that they can increase their collaboration, learn about each other, so that the co-planning period, the process where they work together to decide what instruction will take place, we hope that that goes more smoothly as a result of the co-teaching, co-planning pairs workshop beforehand.
I consider myself a pretty successful teacher. On the same hand, now that I've taught with another person, with actually having a co-teacher and being able to share the responsibility and the joys and the grading and the planning, but also in seeing those students make the connections. I constantly think, well, how do we get this student or that kid or this student? And being able to interact with someone and communicate with someone who's right there. I don't have to explain anything. They know exactly what we're doing, what we're going through. We've set up this amazing foundation. I don't think I'll be able to get as much done as we have been. There's no way one person could possibly cover as much as us two have.
And I think everybody understands, whether you're an educator or not, again, the more adults you have in that classroom, the more attention, perhaps, the more intensive instruction that their child's going to get. And I think that they were only appreciative of that. And I had some parents make some comments to me and to the teacher that they were very sorry to see the Purdue student go. You know, the kids formed that rapport with them, and it was just a really good working relationship. I see this model taking off. I think it's much improved. I think it's much improved for working relationships, for collaboration, the RISE model, and most importantly, I think it most benefits the kids, and that's why we're all here.